Alright, Shareloved here, and welcome to episode 3 of our Let's Build series. So today, I just wanted to give a quick shout out before we get started to Blue Clary, who was a big inspiration for this Let's Build series. She used to do a lot of good art streams on Sunday involving different art. You could see here she has a good YouTube channel. So check it out. She has a really good cupcake tutorial. And also while we're here, we'll put on some music. I've got an Earthbound lo-fi mix readied up. So what we're gonna do today, we're gonna hop into some my first and arguably the biggest addition to community content. So give me 2 seconds. I'm just gonna turn down this music just a little bit. Okay. So, this is in community content under Nostalgia Pack. There is a thumbnail for it, but it doesn't show you at all of what's in here. And it's also not labeled properly. So, that was kind of on purpose to keep it hidden a little bit. But I do definitely encourage people to check it out, and if they want to use anything, feel free. Just know that a lot of this stuff is copyrighted. Um, for me, it was more for practice, and because a lot of these characters I enjoy, I tried to keep it to more old stuff if I could. Like you could see, I've got Roger Rabbit here. This is what's his name again? Zipper from the Rescue Rangers. So, those are old cartoons. Like, I don't know if Disney's worried about those old IPs necessarily. So I tried to stay away from newer stuff. But we're just gonna take a glide through here. So I started making this pack when I was about maybe 3-4 months into core. And everything in here took me roughly a month to make. My first model was this little, I don't even know what to call it, a bear, a bunny, I don't know. That was my first one. So you could see I didn't use any reference for it, and it's kind of meh. Then I did this moose next, which I did use a reference for. Like, I looked up a cartoon moose. Kind of my own thing still, but then I did these dragons, which I actually kind of like these dragons. They're very animated looking. I didn't use any reference for those. But I definitely do suggest for people starting out, and even people not starting out, for experienced people, you should always be using reference pictures if you can. Even if you want to build something else, say something that has a body similar to Sonic, maybe you'd look up a picture of Sonic, make a similar body, and then adjust it to how you'd want it to look, But it's always good to have an idea of what you're going for, even if it's not exactly that. So you can see I did a lot of different cartoons. I did some video game characters. I have the Animal Crossing owls there. Got that's from Metroid. This was a Japanese Tengu mask that I looked up. The bat signal. This little mage here was inspired from Final Fantasy. These two geese are like my own creation, more or less. SpongeBob was actually one of the first characters that I looked up with references. And yeah, I was pretty happy with the way he came out. Okay. Considering how early I was at doing this all. A little funny looking turtle here. I built this big robot that has like a person chilling in it. Good old Bowser. So one thing you can notice is if you look at his stomach here, this I used wood siding. to get those lines. That's the material I have on it. Now some materials, depending on the size, will work, and then like we'll take a look over here. Now if I take smart off, it just grows gray like that. So at this size you don't really have much of a choice but to have the smart material on, and you're not going to get the lines as wide as you'd like. So keep that in mind also when you're using materials to kind of cheat lines and stuff into your characters. Over here we've got Thomas the Train. This is definitely this project took me at least 2-3 days, I would think, for Thomas the Train. Like, everything's made out of basic shapes. You could see even these are cube polished. I hadn't really used decals too much at this point. I probably could have used decals to instead of basic shapes. Probably would have been better, but that's what I ended up doing anyways. On the most part, I think I built it properly so that if it was scripted it could move and everything, but you know, even now I'm still a bit of an amateur myself. We'll get there eventually. So you can see over here I have like a bookcase that has like small forms of all the models on here. So part of my idea was to build all these models and then have them as toys to find within a game. So that ended up being my game Retro Gliders. So if any of you guys have seen that one on Core, that's one of my projects, one of my pet projects. And yeah, you can see down here, actually Arthur was one of the ones I made early on too, and he's alright, but I mean, I definitely, as I made more models, I could feel myself getting better and better with each model. So, you know, people say it all the time, it's just practice, but I mean, it really is. It sounds lame to say, but you have to put the time in and you have to have the patience. So this is supposed to be at like a fair when you stand behind those things and put your face through the hole. So yeah, that was kind of funny. I have these different masks I made. I looked up, for this one, I looked up a reference of, I don't know if any of you guys remember a movie called Three Ninjas. It's from the 90s. It's not a great movie at all, but I did like the masks from that movie, so I looked those up, and that one was inspired from that. Over here we've got the pizza launcher from TMNT. And you can see, again, I tried to build it so that it would be able to shoot pizzas, but my scripting talent's not there quite yet. Over here we've got the cat bus from My Neighbor Totoro. And over here, this is the turtle lair from Ninja Turtles. So this, I was very proud with this build. Unfortunately, some of the rooms are unfurnished, like over here is supposed to be the lab, and I don't have anything in it yet. But here's the main room, their living room. You can see I got the turtles over here. Over here is Splinter's room. He's meditating on his mat. They had these little cubby holes that they would sleep in. These are my own masks. I just decided to throw them there for fun. couple more of my own wall art. I have some uneaten pizza. Let's face it, this pizza wouldn't go uneaten very long in this house. Now, when I built this fridge and this stove, which definitely feel free to grab this if anybody needs them. There was no fridge and stove yet on Core, so now we have it in the assets. So if anybody needs a fridge and stove, they're there, but yeah, now we have them in the asset store, so, and they're pretty nice, the ones they added. So yeah, all these cupboards and everything I had to build myself. I mean, one thing, if you're gonna do fan art, you know, if you want to keep it close to the real thing, you're gonna find that a lot of the assets you have access to just aren't gonna work, and you're gonna end up having to build it yourself if you want it to look the way it's supposed to. So you can see there's this sewer entrance here. Over here we've got a little secret area. You could crawl through this little hole. And in here we've got Krang in his robot body. I made him a little skinny. I don't know what happened there. Okay guys, he's just a little thin. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the turtle layer. So yeah, if any of you guys are looking for this is Nostalgia Pack on community content. And like I said, a lot of this stuff is copyrighted, guys, so just keep in mind if you put it in your projects, you might get a takedown notice and you'll have to take it out of your game. But as long as you're aware and willing to take that risk, feel free. So what we got planned today is we're going to take out our reference picture. So give me a second. I'm going to have to make that small. We're going to take out Pure Ref, which is a very good program, which is has an optional donation, so you could donate to them or you could download it for free. And what's good about this, give me a second. Okay, there we go. Okay, so today we're gonna be doing Donkey Kong. So speaking of copyright, alright, so we've got our reference picture, and what's good about Pure Ref, especially if you're like me working on one monitor, it allows you to you could right click on it and oh yeah, so you go to mode and you could go always on top. So that allows you to keep this on top of your editor, and then you always have it there as your reference picture. What I used to be doing is I'd have my picture open and then I would have the editor say here, and then I'd have my reference picture here. But then your window's much smaller, so you know you're not being as effective with your screen space. So I definitely do suggest Pure Ref for everybody, and definitely suggest using references, especially if you're gonna do fan art. Alright, so let's go. We're gonna pull out our basic shapes here for starters. Now I think normally maybe I might do this guy on an empty map, but what I plan on doing is when I'm finished them, I'm gonna upload them to CC, and then it doesn't really matter. I don't really use this map anymore, and it's a pretty suitable map to build them on. We got Yoshi already here as a buddy for him, so... Alright, so what we're looking at, we're probably going to want to start with his head. So, uh, right now I'm looking at his eyebrows. I'm thinking those are going to be beans. For his eyes, we're going to want some spheres and lenses. Probably the side of his eyes here are going to be a skinny bean. His mouth isn't quite a sphere, but we could probably get away with 2 half spheres. One for the top jaw and one for the bottom jaw. And then we could maybe use beans to kind of give him some lips. Yes. Yeah, so most of the face shapes I think we're gonna want, actually really bodies in general, you don't want any straight lines. And most of the shapes that are in these top 2-3 rows here are gonna be what you want. Like the avocado I often use because it has nice curves on it, you know, you have no straight lines. His head, probably an avocado. We could get away with an avocado for his head. So that's probably going to be the first piece we're going to want to put down, is his skull part, and then build his face on the front of it. So we're going to drag our avocado over into our hierarchy. I'm going to drag that up a little bit above the ground. I'm going to press F to get close to it. I'm going to decide which direction we want to be facing. I'm kind of thinking I like the light going this way. So I'm going to turn this. You're going to notice the avocado isn't quite bulged out the same on all sides. There's always one side that's bulged out a little bit more. So I'm going to have that bulge facing the front of his face because we're probably going to build over that anyways. So we're going to rotate it there, and then we're going to come up here, make sure that we're at 90 degrees. So now you see my bulge is facing out that way. Now, this is going to be, we're going to shorten it down, and then we're going to grab our white cube and make it all bigger. Okay, so that looks good for starters. Next, we're probably going to want to do our eyebrows. So beans, I think there was a bean jam on Core. Kind of sad I missed that one because I love working with beans. I would have been all over that. I use them very often in my artwork. Actually, we could probably get away with this because he almost has an unibrow, so maybe it could just be in the middle. Let's see. Stretch it out like that. I'm gonna rotate that back a little bit so it kind of lines up with this line. One thing you could also do is press T, that's translate, which you could toggle here. And if you want to move in world space or local space, sometimes it's a little bit easier to make adjustments in local space. Although, to be honest, I didn't really know the difference between local space and world space until recently, so pretty much everything on this map I worked in exclusively world space, so it's not really the end of the world if you just use world space. It still works. Okay. That looks alright for now. We'll adjust that a bit more. After, we're gonna grab a sphere. We're gonna do his eyes. I mean, in this reference picture, he doesn't really have eyelids, but I might want to give him eyelids anyways. Now, generally, I always flatten up the eyes a little bit. I mean, it's not really a big deal because the shape's going to be going in there into the other shape and people won't see the back anyways. So it doesn't really make a big difference, but that's just something I like to do. And so yeah, generally I don't listen to video game music all the time in my free time. But one thing I like about it is there's no lyrics, and for me, I can't listen to music with lyrics when I'm trying to do art because it's very distracting for me. I don't know if anybody else is like that, but I can't even listen to music. With if there's lyrics in it, my mind right away listens to the lyrics and I start thinking about what's the meaning, and I don't know. Maybe that's just how my mind works, but yeah, so I find it's very distracting. So I always try to find something that's better for the background and that's not going to distract you. Video game music's good. Also, sometimes I'll listen to foreign music so that I still have kind of like a melody and there's lyrics being sung, but I don't understand them, so it doesn't distract me. So you can see right now I'm just fiddling around with it. I don't like how much this side's not showing. This bulge isn't very helpful. I can probably pull it out a little bit. But yeah, when I say patience, guys, sometimes you just gotta tweak, just this one sphere for a while, and then until it looks right to you, Nobody just throws a bunch of shapes together and it works out, It's trial and error and having the patience. Alright, so we're gonna give him an eyelid. My trick for an eyelid, I'm gonna control copy, so I click the sphere in my hierarchy, control C, control V, it gives me a new sphere. I'm gonna scroll down. You can see here the mesh is sphere, so I'm gonna grab my half sphere, thin, switch that basic shape, and that gives him a nice eyelid on the top. So we're gonna switch to local space here, so you see I can keep the same angles as my other sphere my full sphere. Now I don't want him to have too big of eyelids because then he's gonna look lazy and dopey. So I kinda wanna just have them maybe at the top a little bit. Now, Earthbound, I don't know about about you guys, I feel like that's a game I missed out on as a kid. You know, like people talk about that game with such fondness, the people that have played it. Um, so I never got a chance to play it. I should probably play it at some time, but I really do enjoy the music from it. It's very chill. Okay, so next we're gonna want... Do we want to give him a bottom lid too? Probably the bottom of his eye is probably going to be covered by this a little bit. So we'll probably just... Oh yeah. We'll probably not give him a bottom lid. But we're going to want a lens. So we're going to type lens into our little search bar here. We're going to grab our lens half. You could use a lens hole, it doesn't really matter. We're going to rotate that to 90. Then we're going to grab our white cube and make the whole thing smaller. Okay. Now there are tricks to copy the rotation of this. So if I wanted to copy this rotation, I could right click it here, copy rotation, and let's see if we paste that rotation here. Okay, so that's not quite right. So we'll just fiddle it around with it till it looks right. I mean, there's definitely tricks you pick up as you go that are gonna make things faster for you. But some of them you're just gonna pick up at your own time, you know? Like, it's not like sometimes saving a second or two is not really that big of a deal, right? So if you eventually learn those tricks and then save a second or two here and there, and you have a bunch of tricks like that, then you're, you know, start saving a lot of time. But that'll come with practice and just, you know, learning the system. Okay, so that's gonna be that black line. So we're gonna probably, you know what? We're gonna do, I'm gonna make this a little thinner this way. And sometimes, like when you're doing small little things like this, like especially right now, they're both the same color, right? So it kind of makes it a little tricky. So I'm gonna want this lens to be black eventually. So what I could do for now is just come over here and switch it to black. That way I could see my outer line a bit easier, right? So that looks pretty good. Let's see from the side. Yeah, that's lined up on there pretty nicely. So now we're gonna click on our lens in our hierarchy. I'm gonna copy it again. Then let's switch to, okay, we're gonna do this a bit smaller. So now this is like a, I guess it would be like a brownish, dark brownish red, his eyes, so let's find that color. That's good. Thinking somewhere around in that area. Yeah, that seems alright. Okay. Now, one thing I've gotten used to is when I'm done with an object, so say I have it clicked here, before I move on to doing anything else, I always press escape to make sure I'm not selected on anything. Especially because sometimes you'll have something selected that you don't realize, and then you'll go to say start rotating this beam, and you don't realize that you still have another piece selected, and then you start rotating it. It's actually happened to me where I started rotating almost everything on the map, and then I couldn't figure out how to get it back, and it was like that was early on, mind you, but it was very frustrating. So I just always press escape to unselect everything, and then make sure that I have the right thing selected before I start moving it or rotating it. Okay, so we're gonna copy this once more. We want an inner black pupil now, so we're gonna switch this back to black. And just then AC/DC popped out of the woodworks. So that looks pretty good for his pupil, I think. Yeah, that looks nice. I like that. Okay, so that eye's done. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna select all of it. Now we have all 5 pieces. We're gonna copy paste. Now that I have these 5 pieces here, I'm gonna right click on it. I'm gonna go, you could either go new group containing these or new merge model containing these. Don't do new folders. New folders you don't want to use. It's very rare that you use them, because folders will show up in your save file, and it takes up room in there, where groups work a bit different. So we're just gonna group it, I guess. And it doesn't matter, we don't have to name the group for now. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go minus there, so that now we're on exactly the same spot on the other side of this face. And then we're gonna want to right click it, and we're gonna go to mirror object, mirror world space X axis. And see, now it got that rotation that we needed to line up on the face nicely. Alright, so now that that's there, we could just unwrap that. One thing I like to do is I keep everything unwrapped and loose in the hierarchy, and then once I have enough built up, like once I have the head built up, then I'll go back and name stuff and then put it all into a group in the head. You could do it. You can make your groups as you go along, but that's up to you. Alright, so next we're gonna want to go. We're gonna want to do his mouth here. So what I was thinking is probably the easiest way to do it would be 2 half spheres. It's not gonna give us the nice curved shapes that he has to his jaw, but we might be able to work that in, we'll see. So I'm gonna drag a sphere half thin. Bring that up. Okay, so that's definitely way too big. So it looks like his mouth goes out roughly to the side of his face. This is probably a little bit too wide though. Let's go a little bit thinner. Okay, and then we're gonna widen this a little bit. Bring it up a little bit. So we want the bottom of his eyes to just be touching it, pretty much. Okay. So I'm thinking the top jaw is going to be a little bit smaller than the bottom jaw, right? So we want to leave room for that. Okay, so that, I mean, for now, that's alright. We're probably going to adjust that a little bit. So we're going to copy our sphere. Now we're going to right click on it. We're going to go to Mirror, World Space, Z. And you can see that flipped it nicely. Now we're going to want to make this a little bit bigger like that. Maybe we want his bottom jaw a little opened. I think that looks alright. I mean, keep in mind, right? Once you're done the model, you're gonna want to look back over it and make little adjustments and tweaks. So it doesn't have to be perfect looking right from the get-go, just as long as you're in the ballpark. This is definitely a little too big. Make that a little skinnier. Move that in. Okay, that's coming along. It's coming along. I think his eyes should be a little closer though, eh? Let's do that. So these were the two. That's his mouth. We're gonna grab. Okay. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna group up these two eyes now. Since we're gonna want to move them. So we're moving it on the x-axis, so I'll probably let's try a 10. No, that's way too close. 15. And the reason I'm doing the numbers here, and I'm not just moving it, because I'm just going to want to match the numbers on the other side. So now I can come here and go to 14. And I can see that's still not quite how I'd want it. Let's go to 13. Yeah, that looks better already. Okay. So next, I mean, you can kind of see lips here, but we probably want to have a little bit more of a ridge for his lips. So we're going to go back to our basic shapes. At the very top, you're going to want a basic bean. Good old beans. So we're going to rotate this. Come over here. Go to 90. I'm going to rotate that. Probably go to 90 again. So we want this relatively skinny. thinking we're probably going to want to go with 2 beans. I mean, they are a little finicky to use beans, right? But I do like the results they give you. But sometimes you have to be, you can't just cheat the whole lip here, you know, like you kind of have to do a little more tweaking than that because they lose their shape as you expand them one way or the other. Okay, so let's see. We're gonna copy paste that bean. We're gonna mirror it on the x-axis, and then we're gonna take the minus out of there so that it's the same position but on the other side. Okay, so I don't really want this little dimple here, so I'm gonna probably try and get this straightened out a little bit. So we're gonna delete this second one, and then we're gonna redo that process just to keep the same angles. It's easier that way. So copy paste our first bean and then mirror it on the X. Then come over here, take the minus out so it's on the same position on the other side. And one thing I didn't mention this episode, when you drag something into the hierarchy, it always starts you at position 0, 0, 0. And if you're not dragging something directly into the hierarchy, if you're dragging it onto the map, it's not going to do that for you. But if you're building models, I always suggest being at the 0 position because it makes mirroring things much easier. Alright, so now there's still a bit of a dimple. Maybe, let's bring them a little bit closer. Let's go 26 on both sides. I mean, yeah, there's a bit of a dimple there, but I think that works alright. So we're gonna copy these two. And then we're just gonna bring it down a little bit. And then this one we had rotated downwards a little bit to have the mouth open, so we're gonna want to rotate these beans a little bit. So one thing you want to also keep in mind is right now you see a bit of jagged edges here, but both these spheres and these beans are all going to be the same color. So we'll see when we add color after, but you might not. Okay, so sorry about the break there. The recording stopped, I didn't realize. So as I was saying, the jagged edges here you're probably not going to notice when we add color because they'll be the same color and the same material. But if we do need to change it, we'll adjust it after. For now, that's alright. The only other thing I did was I started adding this bean for his eyebrow on the side there. So on that side that looks alright, so we're going to click on this bean, we're going to copy paste, come up to the X position, remove that minus, and then we're going to right click on it to mirror it on the X, So he kind of has like some cowlicks or something going on the top of his head. Not sure what we'll use for that. Might be able to use like this clay form, or maybe an avocado that's like flattened. Maybe a horn. Actually, a horn might work. No, it's gonna be too pointy, probably. I think a horn would be too pointy. Take a look. Actually, that might be alright. Yeah, that looks pretty alright. And then I guess he's got a smaller one in the back. So what we're gonna do is copy paste that horn, and then we're gonna mirror. Now we're going on the y-axis, so we're gonna come in here, and then we're gonna put a minus. You can see that's much too far, so I'll switch back to my world space. I was on my local space. I mean, normally you'll notice the arrows aren't perfectly horizontal and vertical if you're not on world space. But you definitely want to make sure you're on the one you want before you start dragging it in the wrong direction. So this one is going to want to be a little bit smaller. So far that looks alright. So now we're gonna take a look. I guess his ears are gonna be what we're gonna want to do next. So I'm guessing that's gonna be in our top rows up here. Which one do I usually use for ears? Thinking, on one side of the clay form 10 it looks nice, but then you have on the other side it's like ridged. So this clay form 10 is often going to be your go-to if you need a tongue.
Watch League of Legends videos ad-free and learn to win uninterrupted. Try YouTube Premium on us.
That ridge might be against the back of his head. Or the ridge, yeah, you won't see it necessarily, so it won't look as funny as maybe I'm thinking. Thinking this one piece might work. So yeah, we're not going to want any of this avocado here coming through it because that's going to have the fur material on it. So I definitely want to make sure this is off the side of his head a little bit. Now it looks like his ear is going into the side of his mouth. Now I don't know how that makes sense, but that definitely appears to be how he was made. So I guess we will try and do that. But to me, that's kind of it's a weird design choice, but also I find his eyebrow is very strange. Like just one big unibrow with that I don't know. That's I mean, obviously the design works. It's an iconic character, but just some strange design choices, if you ask me. I think we're gonna make this mouth a little bit wider. It's probably gonna mess up our beans there, but we could just grab our 4 beans. So I'm gonna click on this bean, and then I'm gonna hold shift, click on the 4th one since we have 4 beans there and they're all in the same order. Then we're just gonna make these beans a little bit bigger. This all the way around, and then widen it just yeah, I don't know why his ear is connecting to the side of his mouth like that. I don't like that. For some reason that's not working out for us, so we're gonna get rid of that. We're just gonna go back to the drawing board on that here. That's alright. Sometimes you gotta do that. Let's try this piece. Like maybe we'll do... That's always weird where you go to move one of these lines and your whole window starts moving on you. I don't know why it does that sometimes. Yeah, I'm kind of at a loss there looking at that ear. Like, why is it coming out of the side of his mouth? Or is it... I guess probably the lobes just behind his mouth, we just can't see it. Let's try this again, actually. I'm not convinced that this can't work. I'm thinking we had it rotated the wrong way, though. This should be something more like that. See already, that makes much more sense. I don't know what way I had it rotated before, but it wasn't the right way, that's for sure. Looks a little bit big, but yeah, we could probably make that a little bit smaller. Play with the rotation, move it a little bit. Yep, another reason to press escape is you could see anything you're highlighted has this yellow line. So when you deselect it, it gives you a better view of what you're looking at than having that yellow line. It just kind of, it's a little bit distracting. Alright, so we're gonna grab this here. That looks, I mean, it's not perfect, but good enough. We're gonna copy paste that. We're gonna go over here. We're moving it on the x-axis again, and we're gonna mirror it on the x-axis. And bang, we got an ear on that side now. So that's the majority of his head. I think we're gonna wanna give him some nostrils here. We could use basic shapes to do it, or we could probably put some kind of decal. I like to do it in basic shapes, so let's do it in basic shapes. So ideally you'd want these nostrils going inwards, but then you would have to build all around them. So sometimes you're better off just trying to cheat it a little bit. You know, you have it just poking out. Usually if I want to add some depth, what I'll do is I'll show you. We'll go to materials. You go to your emissive glow opaque, and black kind of gives you that impression that there could be a dark area, like it kind of goes in. So while it is sticking up a bit over top, it still kind of works. So we're actually just going to leave that material on there for now, since it seems to be working so nicely for us. I think that's pretty good. So we're going to want to do it. Copy paste. Mirror it on the X. You could either mirror it before or after, it doesn't matter, and then you want to come up to your position, remove the minus, and that brings you onto your other side. Now if you're in this case I'm working from left to right, so that's why I'm always removing the minus. But if you're working from right to left, then you're going to want to be adding the minus. And again, if you're looking this way, then you're going to be working on the y-axis, so you're going to be doing most of your mirroring on the y instead of the x-axis. But it still works exactly the same. So far, I think that's a pretty decent head. So we'll take a look at the rest of his body here. His shoulders, we're probably going to want to use spheres. Either a sphere, or you could also use an avocado probably. And legs, that's what I use often, either avocados or basic peppers. Fingers are, are gonna be our go-to beans. This picture is not really giving a good view of his chest. We might want to look at another reference picture when we get to that part. Yeah, so I guess the next step would be to do his body. And then we can add legs and arms. So I guess what we're going to want to do is come over here. Donkey Kong. Take a look at some Donkey Kong pictures. Okay, so this picture gives a good view of his chest. So let's just extend this over. We're gonna drag this guy, put it in our pure ref little box here. Minimize that. Okay, so looking at his chest now, we're looking at 2 spheres for his chest. His stomach's probably, we could probably get away with a couple different shapes for his stomach, but okay. And judging by the picture, it doesn't really look like Donkey Kong has much of a neck. It's almost like head and then it's like sitting on top of his shoulders. So he definitely doesn't have a long neck. So we could almost get away with no neck. So we're just going straight up, straight to his chest and shoulders. So for his back and for his front, we're going to want to do different shapes. We're going to want to build essentially his back first, and then we're going to add the spheres and his stomach on the front of that. So for a rough shape to begin with, I think we're going to want to use the avocado. As you can see, we've already been using this avocado quite a bit. There we go, on turn it 90. So if you look at his body, it's like biggest on top and then gets kind of skinnier down towards his waist. Yeah, so I'm just looking around at my my other stuff here. If I was ever gonna put stuff on community content, again, I wouldn't add it. I wouldn't add this much stuff into one pack. Because if anybody wants to use any of this stuff, they have to pretty much drag it all of this into their project to choose what they want. Um, so definitely, if I definitely learned a lesson there, and I think you want to keep your packs a little bit smaller, maybe even add stuff individually rather than just, big packs of stuff. Because, like, for instance, if anybody wants, say, Thomas the Train, which I mean, I think I did a pretty good job on it. So it's, um, nobody's gonna find it by searching Thomas the Train. So, I think that's definitely not helpful in that way. You kind of have to know it's in here to know to come grab it. Okay, so that looks roughly alright. For now, we're gonna grab a sphere to throw on his chest, give him a nice some big Donkey Kong pecs. This dude's buff. It's all those bananas he eats. So what are we listening to now? I think this is like a Tokyo, 5 a.m. Tokyo chill. Yeah, I really dig this lo-fi music for art because it's really nice, chill background beats. Like I said, don't put even don't put your favorite music on when you're trying to do art. You're just gonna distract yourself. The last thing you want to be doing is finding yourself singing along, and then next thing you know, you're not getting your art done. So we want these big muscles together. Yeah, that's looking nice. Nice big buff chest. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna grab another one of these, and I'm gonna click on it on the hierarchy, and then I'm gonna copy paste it. I'm gonna mirror it on the Z because I want the big part on the bottom now. Oh no, wait. My bad. I did not want to do that. But what I want to do is grab this white and make it a bit smaller. Yeah, that looks about right. And then we're gonna want to move this forward. And that looks alright for a stomach, although it doesn't really stick out quite enough. He's got a bit of a banana pot belly, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe that's enough. We'll see after. We could adjust that later. Okay, so I think we've got a pretty good start here so far. Honestly, once we get to going on the legs and arms, you're gonna see it's gonna go very fast from there because a lot of this is mirroring. So we're just gonna move this up a bit because I think we're gonna want to make some more room to have his legs there built. So for now, I'm gonna take a break. And so we'll definitely clip back in with the rest of this build. momentarily through the powers of magic, it'll be like I never left. But so I'll check you guys in a little bit. Alright, so we are back with a couple hours sleep. Now we got some fresh eyes, some fresh lungs to talk to y'all. So I'm taking a look at what our work from last night. And I feel like this could be a bit longer, so we're gonna grab this, we're gonna scale this more towards this way. We're gonna pull this down a little bit. Maybe not quite that long. Something like that. And I think the body could also be a little bit bigger. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna grab it in our hierarchy. We're gonna select all 4 of those. We're gonna right click, we're gonna make it into a merged model containing these. Then we're gonna up the scale a little bit here so that it keeps its dimensions, but the whole thing gets a little bit bigger. So let's go 1.1, see how that looks. Already that looks a little bit better. You know, Donkey Kong's kind of a buff character. We don't want him too skinny. Maybe that's a little bit too big. So I think 1.1 looked better. So let's put it back there. And then we're gonna unmerge it, unwrap it, rather. Okay, so for his body that looks pretty good. So we're gonna pull up our reference picture again here. Load. Surfboards. Okay, so I'm thinking I kind of want him to be in this position that he is here. So for now, the torch. Okay, so I don't know what's going on with the recording, just doesn't want to stay doing its job. Okay, so we've got the torso tilted a little bit. We moved him down so that he's at a more appropriate height. So now we're gonna start on one of the arms here. So we're probably gonna want to have several pieces. Like I We'll get there sooner or later. It'll just keep recording and stop giving me a hassle. So sorry it's gonna be all clipped in, clipped out. Alright. So let's go down our hierarchy. Just drag an avocado in there, see what it looks like on the shoulder. So it's gonna want to be a bit bigger. So his arm kind of comes out and then kind of goes straight. So we're going to want to angle here outwards, and then we're going to kind of want to come straight down with his forearm and hands. How does that look from down here? Okay, that kind of looks, yeah, that looks alright. That's a good start there. Now, because you want to kind of have them buff, we're going to want to, normally, let's take a look at another model here. So you can see Yoshi's arms here. I've got the one avocado, two avocados, so that's, I'm only using two pieces for his upper arm and his lower arm here. But, you know, Yoshi doesn't have to be buff, right? So it's not, you're not trying to accentuate necessarily the muscles. But if we take a look at, let's take a look at the Ninja Turtles. So because we want them to be a little bit more buff. Okay, so as I was saying, one thing you could do here is you could start with a base like this and then put other shapes onto it to make the muscles. Or you could kind of do it like I did with the Ninja Turtles, have it in multiple pieces per area here. But what I think I'm gonna try and just get the base down first. So we'll put in a forearm. Are we gonna want to use? We might still want to use an avocado. So I'm thinking because cartoon characters. Let's see. We're gonna copy this avocado, and let's try mirroring it on the Z. Because I'm not sure which side I want the bigger piece on. Yeah, see, I think it's... Yeah, it makes more sense like that, right? So you want it slightly towards the inside. I mean, it's not completely straight. And the forearm, you want to make a little bit bigger than the top of the arm, right? Okay, so now we're going to want to put something here for his elbow, and we're probably going to want to give him a bit of a bicep here. So we're going to grab a sphere, drag that in, make it smaller, we'll get it in the right spot, and then we'll... So we're probably going to want to fiddle around with this to get the muscle looking right. Not really a fan of how that looks. Well, for starters, we're gonna get a bit of an elbow in here. We just want a little bump for it to show that there is an elbow there. That looks about right. Maybe a little bit wider, I think. We could probably get away without putting too much muscle definition in there, I think, actually. To keep it a little bit simpler. So we're gonna move on to the hand. I mean, you could see his fur line here is pretty much straight across. And we have a curve here, so we'll see if we can get rid of that curve by placing the hand in a way that'll help us out with that. Alright, so this is probably going to be like the palm of his hand. So what are we listening to right now? The Sound Defects, the Iron Horse full album. So yeah, this is mostly an instrumental album. Kind of like has some hip-hop elements. But very, very few. Okay, so we're here busy fiddling with the hand. I'm not sure what you guys would have missed. The recording stopped there. I should probably go back and look, see where it stopped, and then take off where I left off. But we'll just re-explain the last little bit what I did here. So we have 2 avocados for his upper and lower arm. We've got a sphere here for his elbow. At the bottom, we have my go-to for the fingers, which is beans. And this is a clayform 6. So this is often a good piece for hands, like for the palm of a hand, for the face of a hand, like up here. Okay, so now he's just missing a thumb. So what we could do for a thumb, we're just going to grab our last finger here. We're going to copy that. We're going to make it into a merged model. Now, his thumb should be turned this way. We're just gonna make this a little bit bigger. His thumbs are usually a little thicker than your other fingers. You don't want it longer, but because most of it's gonna be inside the hand, you're not gonna notice that it's longer. So by making it bigger as a whole is not a big deal. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I think that's one arm down. So we're going to unwrap that. We're going to come back up here. We're going to find our first piece. Okay, so there's our shoulder. We're going to hold shift, and we're just going to hold the down arrow. We're going to select the whole arm. We'll make a new group containing these, so arm. And then we're going to copy that arm. And we're going to come over here on our x-axis. We're going to remove that the minus to get us on the other side. And then we're going to right click on it to mirror it on the x. And there you go. We got our 2 front arms in place. Looking pretty snazzy so far. So now we just need some back legs. Now back legs are going to be fairly similar to how we built the front ones. We're actually just going to grab this avocado right here. We're going to copy paste it. Then we're going to move it outside of our group so that it's no longer part of the arm. Okay, so the back legs, we're going to want pretty, like, kind of thickish still, but we don't want them as long as the front arms. Now, I don't know how how real that would be in real life, but that's clearly how this character is designed. So we're gonna want to stick with that for sure. So we're gonna want to do some maneuvering because you can see the angle on that back leg is much different than that front one. Okay, so what we're gonna do, shorten it just a little bit more, and then we're gonna make it bigger. So we want this coming back out the back a little bit, give him a butt. Give him some butt cheeks. Okay, so we don't really want this much of a curve here. So we're probably gonna, from the front it should look kind of like that. Let's see what that looks like from the back. That might be alright. His butt looks a little high up his back, but we'll see. We'll see how that looks once we got both legs in place. Okay, so now we're gonna copy this. Do we want to do the same? I feel like, yeah, okay, so we're not gonna do the arms exactly the legs exactly the same way as the arms. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna copy it. Now you can see for the forearm here, actually had this mirrored upside down so that the big part's on the bottom. For the back legs, we're not gonna do that. Okay. So always keep in mind when you're using an avocado, there's that bulge. You don't want it bulging out in the wrong spot. So I want my bulge. Sorry, I'm so immature. I say that word and I just can't help but laugh to myself. But we want the bulge going inwards so that you're not really seeing it. Okay, so I like the way that's coming out so far. We're gonna grab I guess we could just grab this sphere. I'm gonna drag it out with our avocados. And we need ourselves a kneecap. So could probably get away with no kneecap there, but we're gonna switch to local area translate because I feel like I'm on the right angle more or less. Okay, that looks pretty nice. Okay, so now his back feet are a little funky looking. Like, I feel like in real life their back feet look more like hands than feet. I guess he does kind of have like thumbs on them, so. This music's I'm not gonna say what it sounds like, it's inappropriate, but like a 70s era one. Let's just put it there. Let's just leave it there. If you could figure it out, then you're You're old enough to figure it out. Alright.
What a freak.
Okay. So what are we gonna use for this? We're gonna want to put this piece here and then just put the toes on it. This, the foot part will probably just be one piece. Uh, Mirror that on the Y, mirror it on the C. Want to see what, yeah, okay, so the underneath looks like it has a more smooth, is that the shape I want? I don't know. Not a particularly big fan of how it's higher on this side than the other side. I don't think I like that. Okay, so let's get rid of that. I mean, avocados haven't been treating us wrong so far. Let's try it. Let's try an avocado out. Oh. Yeah, sometimes, okay, so oftentimes I'll pull this up to really see what I'm doing and then I'll drag it in. And then I'll find myself working in this tiny window trying to get the piece in place. It's always good. Just take an extra second, make the window bigger, and make it easier on yourself. Okay. So we're gonna want the bulge on the top of his foot here. I'm gonna go 90 this way. Kinda looks like a clown shoe right now, but as we move this around a little bit, it's gonna look a little bit more normal. Not completely sold on that. Should probably actually be more like this. I'm gonna shorten this. And the side toes will have like we'll have all the toes attaching here so that we can kind of get rid of this curve here. So, press escape, and come on over here, get the beans out, easily flip this, mirror on the Z, we want it up this way, make it much smaller with the good old white cube in the middle. So his back toes, we could probably get away with one bean for each toe. And as you go, what we're going to want to do is keep grabbing the last bean and then make it a little bit bigger than the last one. And then his big toe. You want it significantly bigger. Okay, that looks about right. Now we're gonna we want a thumb. I mean, sometimes you just get lucky and you just drag it right into the right spot. Like right away, that looks good to me. So sometimes you just get lucky. Alright, so let's grab these 4 toes. I'm gonna move them up just a little because I want you to kind of be able to see the toes better. I mean, that foot looks alright. Only problem is it doesn't look big enough. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna select all our beans and our avocado, so the whole foot. We're gonna move it into a merge model, and we're gonna do the same thing with it that we did with the torso. So we're just gonna scale it up here a little bit. So anytime you're scaling things in a merge model, if you're scaling one axis, it forces you pretty much to do all the axes. So that's why I switched it to a merge model there. If we had just selected, say, let's just select those. If we go into scale now and go 1.1 on X, it's not going to switch all 3 of them. And if different pieces are maneuvered in different ways, that stretching it on the X-axis in one way won't stretch it in the same way for your other pieces, so always keep that in mind too. I think that still looks pretty small, so we're gonna go, let's take a bit bigger of a jump here, go to 1.3. Still looks tiny, I don't know. Okay, let's go even bigger. Yeah, I mean that looks a little bit better. His hands are much bigger than his feet. So yeah, that looks pretty good. Alright, so we're gonna come here, I'm gonna click on that merge model. We like the sizing, so we're gonna unwrap. Then you could see, anytime you wanna close all your groups, so I'm just gonna click collapse all, because I had one of my arms open here. So everything after these 2 arms should be our legs, so we're just gonna select all this. New group, make it a leg. Then we're gonna copy that leg, copy paste. Do the same process, so remove the minus, switch it onto the other side, and then we're gonna go right click on it, mirror it on the world space, X. So one thing to keep in mind anytime you're mirroring, sometimes spheres will invert when you mirror. So sometimes if that happens, what you have to do is you'll have to come back and mirror just that one sphere and then um, switch the rotation to match rather than mirroring it. Okay, so his butt cheeks could be a little bit closer together, I think. How would we go about doing that? I guess his feet could be a lot closer together. Okay, so let's go. Let's go 7. Just gonna move these closer together. Match the X position on both sides. Same number, just one with the minus, one without it. That's already looking a little bit better. But I feel like these should still be kind of touching or almost touching anyways. So let's go 68. We're not missing much. Sorry, I don't know what's in my throat. I need some nice good sip of coffee. Alright. So now that looks like a healthy set of buns. And so far I think this is coming out. So we're going to start on the materials now. So I guess we'll we'll test out some materials, see what we like on this avocado. So we want his fur. The best thing I've found for fur is using hay. Now, if any of you guys have any better suggestions, I am all ears, because the hay works pretty good, but I mean, the more tricks, the better, right? Okay. I mean, that looks about the right length of fur anyways. Probably gonna want to switch this color, go with our red. Now if you want a more exact color, we're probably gonna have to go to customize it a little bit. Let's do red. Still too red. I think that looks pretty good. I mean, it's not exact, but I think that's close enough color. Okay, so now we're gonna wanna click here. We're gonna copy these properties. Then, what else wants fur? The only other thing that wants fur is these two horns up on his head. And we're gonna go paste properties. So this brings up your little choose properties to paste. You could see you have a bunch of different options here. You could paste the position, rotation, the scale. But what we want is the material, use smart material, and color override. So you can see, because these horns here and this avocado are different sizes, so the fur looks much smaller on the horn. So what we're going to want to do is change this tiling to be that looks a little bit better, a bit closer to the avocado. Okay. Then his body, base properties. Now there are faster ways to do this. You could select all of it, put all the fur on it, and then just go through and uh, switch the pieces that don't need the fur to whatever material. Most likely, we'll see when we get to it, but I'm thinking we're probably going to use either plastic mat or we could use office carpet with the tiling set way up so it kind of looks fuzzier. You don't see the texture of the carpet so much. Kind of gives it like a nice fuzzy look. Okay, so that's pretty much it for his body, and then the rest of his body is all the other material.
YouTube Premium gives you ad-free videos.
Okay, so we
mobile
want
downloads,
these three first
and
pieces.
background play. With it, you also get YouTube Music Premium, a music streaming
Oh,
app that has playlists
commercials.
mixed just
Get
for
outta
you,
here.
and the world's largest catalog of songs to enjoy uninterrupted. Try YouTube
Okay,
Premium
we're
for 1
switching,
month on us and
let's-
get into what you're into.
Let's switch music here, guys. So one cool thing that I don't know if how many of you guys are have been using YouTube for that long, but one thing you could do is if you find a content creator you like, oftentimes you could go check out what lists they've made. So I have a bunch of music lists here, so if anybody's ever interested in exploring some new music, I've put a lot of time into curating these lists. Let's go into our video game music. Something nice. Let's get some background. I like this track. It's like random Nintendo music, Zelda and the like, and a more lo-fi mix. Nice background music. Alright, so now we're gonna go over to our other arm. We're gonna select those same three pieces. We're gonna paste our nice fur material on there. We're gonna grab the same thing, first three pieces here. And same for the other leg. And I believe that is it for the first. Now we want to decide what is this material gonna be. So, like I said, most likely we could use plastic mat. Works pretty good for cartoon characters. Basic material I think is almost exactly the same, so it doesn't really... I can't tell the difference between those two, but we'll try out office carpet because I often like to use that material. So go here. So you can see it's very textured right now. So I'm going to take off the smart material. I'm going to turn this tiling all the way to the top. And see, now it kind of gives like this fuzzy, nice fuzzy look. And you know what? I like how that looks. So we're going to switch this color. It's kind of like a beige-ish skin color. That looks pretty close. That's coming out more yellow than skin color. Oh, there we go, maybe. Ah, there we go. That looks nice. Alright, yeah, I like that. Alright, so we're going to copy our properties. We're going to select all our beans and our mouth and our... pretty much everything that's Oh no, wait, not the homes. Alright, so I'm gonna paste these properties here. Skip over those two horns. Grab our ears. So yeah, if any of you guys have any suggestions on maybe something you'd like me to build for community content, or something you'd like to learn for yourself, how to do, definitely let me know in the comments. And I can't promise that I'll make whatever it is, but I'll definitely take everybody's suggestions into consideration. So for whatever reason, you could see sometimes it doesn't want to keep the tiling. I don't know why. Okay, so we're gonna have to reselect all this stuff. Go back through. I'm just gonna switch the tiling over to 64. So you could see, I talked about earlier these jagged edges. They didn't quite blend in as much as I would have liked, but at the same time, I don't think it's that bad. It's actually not too bad, so it looks pretty good. Alright, so we're gonna select his chest here. We're gonna paste our properties. Let's see. I feel like normally you have an option to keep the UV tiling, the U and V tiling for it, but it's not giving me that option. So we're just gonna have to do that a little bit manually. I'm gonna grab his hands. Yeah, so for myself in my personal projects, I'm trying to move away from doing Nintendo stuff. And try and kind of do my own art. But also have a friend that I went to boot camp with, Core Boot Camp, which is online courses. For those of you that don't know this, actually, there are free online courses that are called boot camps that Core runs. They have ones for beginners, they have ones for advanced people. If you have the time to do them, I absolutely suggest trying it out. And I mean, if a platform with all these games being free, with an amazing editor being free wasn't enough, they also run online courses and are very helpful on the Discord. Honestly, guys, if you're not on Discord and you're having trouble with stuff, you're not always gonna get an answer back right away. People are busy and have their own lives to do. But I think people, if they do have a chance, they're gonna help you out. So I really do suggest wholeheartedly to everybody to get on there. I didn't for the longest time I didn't have Discord up until Animal Crossing came out on the Switch, and I wanted to trade with people, so I ended up getting Discord around that time, and then I hadn't used it since then. So like for like the last 2 years or whatever, I didn't use it. And then at first I was like, oh, I don't want to re-download Discord and use it, and is it worth it to get on there for core, blah blah blah. And yes, absolutely, it was worth it. You know, I've met a lot of nice people on there. I found out about the courses on there. You know, there's a lot that I've learned and a lot to appreciate on there. Okay, so we're copying our nice skin color onto his feet there, making sure the UV tiling looks nice. So you can see his eyeballs I haven't touched yet. So the question is, do we want to have these eyelids the same color as his eyebrow? I think we're going to want to kind of have the same color, but we're going to want to darken that quite a bit. So we're going to paste that. I'm going to move it all the way over. Then we're going to click on the color. And we're going to grab this bar, the value. We could either brighten it or darken it. Saturation brightens it or darkens it as well. But you can see the line for the saturation's already showing, where this one you have to kind of grab it off from the side. Okay, let's see how that looks. Yeah, I think that looks a little bit more right. So we're just gonna grab this color, drag it into our little color picker. Then when we open our color picker in the future, this color will be here for us to use. And paste the properties. Grab this color. This color. Okay. Now what? Okay, so I have on these lenses, I just have a basic material with those colors on there. So we're gonna want to kind of want something shiny. Oftentimes I use emissive, although I feel like that's probably not the right thing to do. I think I'm gonna try plastic shiny, see how that looks on here. Yeah, I think that looks alright. Let's see. Good old plastic shiny. I mean, for a lot of cartoon stuff, I tend to go with the plastic, but keep in mind, guys, I'm a bit of a rookie myself, so you know, I just kind of go with what feels right. Is it the materials that I should be using? You know, I don't know, but if it looks alright to me, then I guess, you know, that's what matters. And if it looks right to you as whoever's created it, then that's what matters, right? So So, does it look like Donkey Kong? That's the question. Kind of. I kind of feel like it looks like a younger version of him. Like maybe it was him in his teenage years or something. Okay, so now, obviously, we want his tie, right? So we're gonna want... What are we gonna use for his tie? I mean, you can't go swinging through the jungle without a tie. I mean, That would just be foolish. So I'm thinking we're not gonna want it tight right against his body, right? We're gonna probably have it hanging off a little bit so that we could kind of cheat it to have one piece rather than multiples. So I think it's gonna have to be kind of rounded more than flat. So let's grab a ring. Okay, first we're just gonna collapse all of this so that everything's into a piece, into its little things. And hold on, move this down a little bit. We're just gonna label out some stuff here so it's less confusing in the hierarchy. We're gonna grab everything that's part of his head. We're gonna create a new group for that. We're just gonna call that head. Okay, then we're moving down to his body. So you could either name torso or body. I just usually call it body. Torso is definitely more on point, but okay. So we're gonna, now we've got it all nice and labeled. We're just gonna drag this over here. So what we'll probably want to do is we're going to want to flatten this a little bit. Okay, is this on the 0 mark? Okay, it's on the X0, which is where we want. I feel like this is an Animal Crossing song right now, but it's not from the newer Animal Crossing. It just sounds like one of their songs. Which, Animal Crossing is a very fun game. There's like, it's very relaxing. You get to be creative, you know, to an extent by organizing and, you know, decorating your island. But I'll tell you, after trying Core, something like Animal Crossing just does not hold up to the amount of creativity and customization you could do on something like this. Okay, so now we've got the piece that attaches this bottom part. So it's kind of, you know what, this pyramid four-sided soft kind of looks like it might be the piece we want, just flattened out. So mirror that on the C to flip it around to the way we want it. Don't want that quite straight. A little too big. Yeah, looks better. Okay. That looks alright. So now we just want our tie piece. And I feel like, is it pyramid? Yeah, I think it's this one right here. Prism four-sided kite. That's what we want. Drag that down. So what we're probably going to want to do is we're going to get this to the right size, get it in place, but then we're going to grab it and take it off to the side a little bit so that we could write those initials on it, which will be a lot easier when it's flat against the ground. Okay. So sizing looks pretty good. This wants to be a little bit thinner. And yeah, I think that looks about right. Okay, so like I said, we're just gonna rotate this back. We'll do go to 0. Actually, let's do 1. What happened there? Oh, I'm on the wrong 180. Alright, so move that forward a little. And then we're gonna now I'm just thinking how we're gonna go about getting that outline. So let's try and see what the letter decals are gonna do for us. Was that shape? Yeah, shape. So there definitely is. There's one that gives you numbers in here. So I'm just gonna make this a little bit bigger so we can see. Actually, I'm gonna take a quick pause. I'll be back. Okay, so after a quick pause there, we are back. And what I was looking for was decal letters. Who would have guessed? Alright, so we're gonna drag that out into our hierarchy. Look at that, it's already almost the appropriate yellow. Like it knows what we want to do. Okay, so we're gonna want to be a little bit tricky about this. Okay, so shape index is how you change the letter. For each of the decals, you're always going to have a shape index on almost all of them, and they also almost always give you different pictures or different whatever it is. So right now we're on letters, so it gives us different letters. This is going to want to be a bit smaller. And you can see the letters actually touch the sides here. So they're going right out to the sides. And they're roughly at the same height as this little point on the side of the tie. So probably something like that. Copy paste that. We're gonna move this over and then we're just gonna switch it to a K. Okay, now we're gonna copy both these. We're gonna turn them into a merged model. We're also going to select them both from within. And we're gonna go with the red, then we're gonna scale it down. So you can see the D is working out much nicer than the K. Not really much we could do about that. one more time. Go back in. Switch it back to yellow again. We probably should have saved the yellow from the first one so that we could have the same yellow. Oh, whoopsies. Let's just go revert. Oh, and we can revert this one. Brings us back to our original yellow too. How about that? Where the hell are these letters? I don't know why. You would think that. You know what? I think we're just gonna go with it like that. Kind of give it a bit of a yellow outline, but not exactly the same way it is there. Okay, so we're gonna unwrap that. We're gonna grab our kite along with the letters. We're gonna just put it in a merge model for now. So in case we unselect something, it's still all together. Our decals, we're trying to do something funky on the ground. That's alright. We might want to... Well, we'll see how it turns out. Unwrap that now. Grab the ring, our soft pyramid, and our prism. And I think we're gonna go with the office material again. We already have one up here, so we'll grab the custom one here. Make that red. That looks like the right kind of red. I don't know about these letters. You know what? I think let's take the red off. Let's see how that looks. I mean, it's not as nicely outlined as these letters are here, but I think it's enough that people get the point. So let's move this in a little bit. This in a little bit. Then we're gonna select them, make the whole thing a little bit bigger. That show through. So I only want those letters showing up on the front. I don't want them showing up on the back. Okay. We're just gonna grab these pieces. We're gonna put this into a group, call it a tie. And with that, I believe we have our Donkey Kong. Looks pretty good. So I'm gonna grab all the pieces here. I'm gonna right click on them. I'm gonna turn this into a merged model. Call him Donkey Kong. So last quick note here. So if anybody uses this or any other of the stuff that's copyrighted, there are some tricks to to avoid having a strike against you. So there's a couple tricks. So one thing you could do is not name it Donkey Kong. If you have it as an interactable character, name it something else. Also, you could change the color a little bit. You could change the dimensions a little bit so it doesn't look as much like it. Okay, so just to finish up, so now we've got our Donkey Kong into a merge model. We're gonna right click on him. We're gonna go down to templates. So we're gonna make a new template from this object. Template called Donkey Kong, yep. Okay, so now you can see it brought us to our project content and it's showing up Donkey Kong here. So we're going to click on Donkey Kong and we're going to go to publish content. Yes, we're going to save. We're just going to straight up name him Donkey Kong. Kind of goes against what I just said about naming it something else, but I mean, if somebody wants to use it, no point in naming it something else. Make it nice and easy on everybody. We'll just go character. It's not animated or anything, so if anybody wants to make a move, you're gonna have to go through that work yourself. I'm just gonna put a smiley face. I mean, what more is there to say? What you see is what you get on this one. So we're gonna go take a screenshot. I always like to deselect them, although that it being highlighted is not going to show up in the pictures when you take a picture. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So anytime you're gonna upload something, it always has to be in a template. But you can see the process is pretty easy. So now I'm gonna publish this public. I could have published it also private, and then that way I would be able to access it from the community store to use in other projects, but other people wouldn't. But in this case, I want to publish it public, so let's go ahead and do that. And you can see a nice loading bar pops up and your template has been published successfully. So yeah, that's it. That's it for episode 3, guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had some fun and learned some things taking a look around, and you know, maybe I guess I should do the standard YouTube thing, you know, don't forget to subscribe, like, check out my other content. And yeah, so I wish you all the best, and until next time, share love out.